When a man experiences no contact after a breakup or separation, the immediate reaction is often relief or a sense of freedom. He might feel like he has more space, fewer obligations, and the opportunity to explore life on his own terms. However, as time passes, that initial feeling can shift. Without the constant presence of someone who once played an important role in his life, a void begins to form. He starts noticing the absence of those little moments, daily check-ins, shared jokes, or even the comforting sound of your voice. Memories start creeping in at unexpected times. You might hear a song that reminds him of a road trip you took together or walk past a restaurant where you once shared a meal. These reminders trigger emotions he may not have fully processed when the relationship ended. Instead of feeling free, he starts feeling nostalgic. Nostalgia has a powerful way of distorting the past, often making it seem more beautiful than it was. The arguments or problems that led to the separation begin to fade in his mind, leaving only the good moments behind. The more he tries to ignore these thoughts, the stronger they become. Human nature often craves what is suddenly unavailable. When you are in constant communication, he might have taken your presence for granted. But now that you are no longer there, the contrast is undeniable. He begins to wonder what you're doing, whether you've moved on, if you ever think about him the way he thinks about you. This internal conflict makes him want to reach out, even if he's unsure about what he wants from you. Social media and mutual friends can intensify these feelings. If he sees you looking happy, thriving, or even just going about your life without him, it can trigger a mix of emotions. He might feel regret, jealousy, or even a deep sense of loss. If you are actively avoiding posting about your life, that mystery can be just as powerful. The unknown can drive curiosity, making him think about you even more. He starts wondering whether you're missing him too, or if you've already replaced him with someone else. Men often realize what they had only after it's gone. The comfort of having someone who genuinely cares, supports, and understands them isn't easy to replace. When he reflects on the relationship, he might recognize that the way you made him feel is something he hasn't been able to find elsewhere. If he starts dating again, and those experiences don't measure up, he'll be drawn back to the connection he had with you. The deeper the emotional bond was, the harder it is for him to completely let go. Loneliness can also play a significant role in why he starts missing you. Even if he fills his time with hobbies, friends, or distractions, there will always be quiet moments where his mind drifts back to you. Nights tend to be the hardest. When the distractions fade away, he is left alone with his thoughts. If he once relied on you for emotional support, those moments of loneliness can become overwhelming, making him feel the urge to reconnect. Sometimes it's not just about missing you, but also about the comfort and security that the relationship provided. If he's going through a difficult time, whether it's work stress, personal struggles, or just an emotional low, he might crave the safety of being with someone who truly cared about him. You were once his emotional home, and in moments of vulnerability, he may instinctively want to return to that. Missing someone isn't always a conscious choice. It's often something that happens naturally when a connection is meaningful. The longer he goes without speaking to you, the more he has to sit with those emotions. If he wasn't fully ready to let go, no contact forces him to confront what life is like without you. And if that reality feels empty or lacking, that's when he finds himself drawn back, reaching out to see if there's still a place for him in your life. When a man experiences no contact, he may initially believe that it's just a temporary phase. He might assume that given time, things will go back to the way they were. However, as days and weeks pass, a new thought begins to creep into his mind. The fear that he might actually lose you for good. At first, he may brush it off, convincing himself that you'll eventually reach out. But when that doesn't happen, anxiety starts to set in. The absence of communication forces him to consider the real possibility that you might be moving on without him. The fear of losing you grows stronger when he realizes that he no longer has access to your life. He doesn't know what you're doing, who you're spending time with, or how you're feeling about the breakup. This uncertainty is unsettling. When you were still talking, even if things weren't perfect, he knew he had a connection with you. Now that connection is completely gone, and the idea that you might be slipping away forever starts to feel more real. Social media can make this fear even more intense. If he sees you living your life without showing any signs of missing him, it can be a major wake-up call. The thought of you being happy without him, or worse, finding someone new, can trigger feelings of panic. He may have been confident at the beginning, but now, doubt takes over. He starts wondering if he made a mistake in letting you go, and the possibility of you falling for someone else becomes a nightmare he can't shake. Time apart gives him the chance to reflect on what he had with you. In the moment, he might not have fully appreciated your love, support, and presence. But as he faces the reality of losing you, he starts to see just how much you meant to him. He begins to recognize the little things, the way you understood him, the comfort you provided, and the effort you put into the relationship. This realization makes the fear even stronger because he now knows that finding that kind of connection again won't be easy. A man's ego also plays a role in this fear. Even if he was the one who walked away, he may not have expected you to actually let him go. He might have assumed that you would chase after him or try to fix things. But when you remain silent, it challenges his expectations. Suddenly, he isn't in control of the situation anymore. That loss of control can be unsettling, making him question whether he was too quick to end things or take you for granted. The fear of losing you isn't just about the relationship itself. It's also about the emotional impact of your absence. If you were a source of stability and love in his life, losing that can feel overwhelming. He might start to feel the weight of loneliness, realizing that being without you isn't as freeing as he once thought. This fear can make him desperate to reconnect, even if he isn't sure what he wants from the relationship. Even if he tries to distract himself with other people or activities, the thought of you lingers. He may hear about you through mutual friends, see reminders of you in everyday life, or simply feel your absence in quiet moments. The more he tries to suppress these feelings, the more they resurface. That fear of losing you transforms into an urgent need to reach out, to check if there's still a chance, and to reassure himself that you haven't completely moved on. At some point, the fear becomes unbearable. He realizes that if he doesn't act soon, he might lose you forever. This is when he decides to reach out, whether through a simple message, a nostalgic memory, or an indirect attempt to get your attention. It's his way of testing the waters, seeing if you still care, and hoping that he hasn't lost you completely. When a man goes through a period of no contact, curiosity naturally starts to build. At first, he might not think much about it, assuming that the silence is temporary or that he can move on easily. But as time passes, he starts to wonder what you're doing, how you're feeling, and whether you still think about him. This curiosity can become a powerful force, making him constantly check his phone, scroll through old messages, or even stalk your social media in search of clues about your life without him. The less he knows about you, the more his imagination starts to fill in the blanks. If he doesn't see any updates or hear from mutual friends, he might begin to worry that you've moved on completely.
On the other hand, it can stir up feelings of regret.
The idea that you could be fine without him, or even happier, can be hard for him to accept. Memories start resurfacing at unexpected moments. He might hear a song you both loved, visit a place where you shared a special moment, or even come across an old photo that reminds him of what he lost. These reminders don't just trigger curiosity. They create a deep emotional pull. He starts reminiscing about the good times and wondering if those moments meant as much to you as they did to him. The more he thinks about it, the stronger the feelings of nostalgia become. Regret begins to settle in when he starts seeing things from a different perspective. Maybe he realizes that he didn't appreciate you enough, or that he acted out of impulse when he decided to distance himself. He might recall times when you showed love and support, even when he didn't reciprocate it fully. This awareness makes him question whether he truly made the right decision in letting you go. Sometimes he tries to suppress these feelings by distracting himself with work, hobbies, or even dating other people. But no matter how much he tries, the curiosity lingers. He wonders if you ever think about him, if you've moved on, or if there's still a small part of you that misses him. This uncertainty can become frustrating because he no longer has access to the answers he once took for granted. If he sees you with someone new, the regret can hit even harder. Even if he wasn't sure about rekindling the relationship, the thought of you being with another man can trigger unexpected jealousy. He may have assumed that you would always be available if he ever decided to return, but realizing that you're genuinely moving forward forces him to confront his own emotions. At some point, curiosity and regret push him to take action. He might reach out with a casual message, ask mutual friends about you, or find ways to reconnect indirectly. This isn't always because he wants to restart the relationship. Sometimes he just wants reassurance that he still holds a place in your heart. But other times, regret makes him realize that he doesn't want to lose you forever. The more he reflects on the past, the more he understands what he let go of. He starts questioning whether he should have fought harder, communicated better, or valued you more. These thoughts can become overwhelming, leading him to try and reopen the door he once closed, hoping that it's not too late to fix what was broken. Emotional attachment doesn't just disappear overnight. Even when a man chooses to walk away or agrees to no contact, the bond he shared with you remains beneath the surface. He might believe that distancing himself will help him move on, but emotions don't work that way. The deeper the connection was, the harder it becomes for him to detach completely. At first, he may feel fine, thinking he can handle life without you. But as time goes on, he starts to feel the emotional weight of your absence. When someone becomes an important part of your life, their presence creates a sense of comfort and security. For him, you weren't just a romantic partner. You were someone who listened, understood, and supported him in ways others didn't. Even if he didn't always express it, he relied on you emotionally more than he realized. Without that emotional anchor, he starts to feel a void. And it becomes clear that replacing that kind of connection isn't easy. Small things remind him of the bond you shared. Maybe it's the way you used to check on him when he was having a bad day, the inside jokes that only the two of you understood, or even the way you made him feel safe to open up. Emotional attachment isn't just about love, it's about the comfort of knowing someone truly sees you. When that's taken away, it leaves a lasting impact, making him reflect on just how much he misses having you in his life. Even if he tries to distract himself, certain moments bring back that emotional connection. When he's sick and remembers how you used to care for him, when he gets good news and instinctively wants to share it with you, or when he faces challenges and wishes he had your support. These moments make him realize that what you shared wasn't just physical or superficial, it was deeply emotional. Men are often conditioned to suppress their emotions, making them believe they can easily move on. But emotional attachment doesn't work on logic alone. The longer he goes without contact, the more he is forced to sit with his feelings. If he tried to act indifferent at first, time will reveal the truth. He still feels connected to you, even when he doesn't want to admit it. If he starts dating other people, he may realize that forming a new emotional connection isn't as easy as he expected. It's expected. Even if someone else catches his interest, the emotional depth he shared with you isn't something that can be instantly recreated. He might find himself comparing new experiences to what he had with you, leading to a growing awareness that he still has feelings for you. There's also a fear that he may never find that same level of connection again. Emotional bonds take time to build, and when he starts to realize that what you had was rare, the attachment becomes even stronger. He might not have noticed it while you were together, but with distance, it becomes more obvious. This realization can create a strong pull, making him question whether he made the right decision in letting go. Eventually, emotional attachment leads him back to you, even if it's just through thoughts or memories at first. The feelings don't just fade away because time has passed. Instead, they remind him that what you shared was significant. Whether he reaches out or not, that attachment remains, showing him that some connections aren't so easily forgotten. When a man returns after a period of no contact, he often does so to test the waters. He may not be entirely sure what he wants, but he's curious to see if the door is still open. Instead of coming back with a clear intention, he might start with something subtle, a casual message, a reaction to your social media post, or an unexpected call. These small actions are his way of gauging your response without fully committing to anything. He doesn't want to make himself vulnerable right away, so he tests your level of interest. If you respond warmly, he may take it as a sign that you still have feelings for him. If you ignore him or seem indifferent, he might pull back and reconsider his approach. This hesitancy often comes from uncertainty. He's not sure how you feel, and he doesn't want to risk outright rejection. Testing the waters can also stem from ego and validation. He may want to know if you still care about him, even if he's not ready to pursue anything serious. If he was used to you chasing him or always being available, your silence might have shaken his confidence. By reaching out, he's trying to see if he still has a place in your life, whether for reassurance or out of genuine interest. Sometimes, a man reaches out to check if you've moved on. If he fears that you're with someone new, he might try to confirm it through indirect questions or social media stalking. Even if he doesn't intend to rekindle the relationship, the thought of you being with someone else can stir up feelings of jealousy or regret. His way of dealing with this is to subtly insert himself back into your life and see how you react. If he's unsure about what he wants, testing the waters gives him a way to feel things out without making a firm decision. He may want to see if the connection between you still exists before he fully commits to trying again. Instead of outright saying he misses you, he might bring up an old memory, ask about your life, or casually mention that he was thinking about you. This allows him to measure your level of interest before deciding his next move. Some men use this approach as a safety net. If they're struggling in their personal life, feeling lonely, or dealing with relationship disappointments elsewhere, they may turn to you for comfort. You were once a source of emotional support, and reaching out can be their way of seeking that familiar sense of security. However, this doesn't always mean they are ready for a serious commitment. It could just be an emotional safety mechanism. Other times, testing the waters is a way to ease back into your life without directly addressing past mistakes or issues. Instead of acknowledging what went wrong, he might try to act as if nothing happened, hoping you'll follow along. He may avoid serious conversations, opting instead for light-hearted messages or jokes. This allows him to reconnect without facing the emotional weight of what led to the separation. Ultimately, testing the waters is a way for him to see where you stand before he decides his next move. Whether his intentions are sincere or not, his actions are driven by a need to understand if you're still open to him. How you choose to respond, whether by engaging, setting boundaries, or ignoring him, will determine whether he stays or retreats once again.